All right. Hey, how's it, everybody? It is 5 p.m. West Coast time, 3 p.m. Hawaii time, 8 p.m. on the East Coast, and 7 p.m. for the Central Time folk. Central Time folk always first in the house. That's right. Rick is here tonight letting us know we've got a 1080p output. And I know that we've got a 1080p output because I went and fixed my settings because the last 720s that we've had have been all my fault. Somehow something got switched, got downloaded or downgraded to the 720 instead of the 1080. So we are coming at you full force with the 1080p broadcast, which means if things are kind of twitchy, feel free to maybe fiddle with this thing right here, the little gear, and things will hopefully get untwitchy for ya. So let's say hi to Gina in the house. Let's say hello to Darlene in the house. Good to know that Rick is inside where it's warm and cozy so he can take up that sword of no mercy that we've got going on. Alrighty then. Darlene, I will tell you all about this shirt in just a minute, but right now we're going to get the party started. Okay, there we have it. Let's get the background music started so I remember. Perfection. Alrighty then. So, Rick and Darlene staying warm in the house. Don't know how chilly it is over in Gina's neck of the woods. It is definitely getting to be a little chillier over here in Seattle as well. We are in line for a white Christmas, and not just a white Christmas, but a white day before Christmas, a white day before the day before, a white after Christmas, a white after Christmas, white. Yeah, we're we're in for some snow, they're telling us. Yes, indeed. All right, so Darlene is getting ready to reel right in to figure out what's going on with this thing called dollar derby. Except for it's actually called roller derby. I don't know why I just said dollar derby, but whatever. Here we go. Here we are. I'm the one who's going to be explaining it to you, and I can't even say the words. So, before we get into that, let's talk about 37.6 degrees in Fort Washington. That is just chilly enough to stay inside and learn about roller derby. So, that is perfect as far as I'm concerned. All right, so let's get into it. Now, today I'm actually going to be showing you a video of a roller derby bout, and it will be an official women's flat track roller derby bout. By the way, when I say bout, I mean a game. Use that term interchangeably. A roller derby bout is a part of the language that we sometimes use in roller derby. The term bout actually is being phased out slowly, but there's a lot of things that are old school roller derby talk that are slowly being phased out. So you might hear me saying some things that don't necessarily match up with what you're seeing on the screen, and that has everything to do with the language that is slowly changing in the sport, but that's neither here nor there. So, before we get into the nitty gritty of it, Darlene was like, what's up with your shirt? This shirt, here, let's get the Honu out of the way. Hold on, putting the Honu back. This shirt is from England, and it is a Southern Discomfort, is the men's roller derby team from, I believe, Birmingham. It's not London, I can tell you that much. If I had done enough research before this show, I would have been able to tell you exactly where they're from. I'm gonna go with Birmingham, but what I can tell you is they're an up-and-coming men's team that hit the international scene, and within like 2 years just hit the men's championship level skating. And I've had the great fortune to see this team on numerous occasions, and I have to say the guys that skate on this team are the best. I mean, roller derby people are just awesome anyway, but these particular blokes, as it were just beyond. They were so thankful to be embraced into the roller derby community in the United States from the moment they set foot on our shores. So, Darlene, I won't be upset if it takes you a while to catch on. In fact, I won't be upset if you don't understand any of it, because there's a lot of moving parts in the roller derby situation. So we are going to start as slow can be. In fact, basically, we're just going to start right now with what does the track look like? Like, what are we doing here? What's going on? So, boom. This is an outline of what the track layout is supposed to be. And as you can see on the upper level of the track, I mean, obviously this isn't upper level, but on the top part of the picture, we've got a pivot line and we've got a jammer line. Now, I don't know if you remember or if you were here for the last roller derby explanation. Pivots and jammers are two positions that are on a roller derby team. There's one jammer, one pivot, and 3 blockers. A pivot is also considered a blocker, and the jammer is the one who scores the points. The jammer line is further behind the pivot line, and the jammers, they line up behind the jammer line. The ones with the star on their helmet, those are the jammers. Those are the only 2 skaters that get to be lined up behind the jammer line. Everybody else, the pivots and the blockers on both of the teams, they have to line up between the jammer line and between the pivot line. So anywhere on that part of the track, that is where they're going to start the action, start the gameplay. They're going to line up, they're going to get into their positions, is it all in metrics? Yes, it is all in metrics. Sorry, Rick. I don't know what to tell you. We tried to make Derby accessible for all. I do believe that the metrics used to. Well, no, it's both in metric and in. If you look closely, it's like you can see it's 10 feet or 3.05 meters. So we've got both. Got to look closely to see that we've got both. But basically, though, so the teams, for the most part, line up between the pivot line and the jammer line. The jammers line up behind the jammer line. The whistle starts to start the gameplay, and then all heck breaks loose. So that's the track that we're talking about, okay? Now, we also talked about where you can hit people and with what can you hit them with, right? So let's see here. All right, so now I've got this little diagram here, and this is this is a very, very, very generic view of a body. The powers that be are writing these rules, knowing that both men and women are going to be using these rules. So it doesn't necessarily look like a woman in this outline, doesn't necessarily look like a man in this outline. That was the exact point. So let's start with the blocking zones. That's the bigger picture on the bottom left of the 2 pictures we've got here. All of the area that's in pink, you're allowed to use that part of your body to hit somebody else. So, blocking zones, that is what so you can use your chest to hit an opposing player. You can use your shoulders to hit an opposing player. You can use your butt to hit another player. You can use your back to hit another player. You have to be initiating the block with your back. Now, you'll see on the upper picture, these are the target zones. Yes, Darlene, you absolutely can barge into them. More body force, you got it. In fact, you'll see some examples of just that when I show the roller derby bout. Okay, so now in the upper part of this picture is what's known as the target zones, and those are the places on your body. Hey, Puzzycat, good to see you. We are talking about roller derby today. A lot of ins and outs of flat track roller derby. We're not talking about bank track roller derby. Bank track roller derby has slightly different rules, although many of the rules that we're talking about here tonight do apply to bank track. We're specifically focusing on the flat track version of the sport. So if you're interested, definitely hang out because you'll probably learn more about roller derby than you ever thought you might want to learn. And it's super good to see you. So, all right. So the blocking view, as Rick said, yeah, no flying drop kicks. In fact, I don't think you're allowed to make contact. I don't remember the nuance of this rule, but I don't think you're allowed to go flying through the air and even hit them with your shoulder. Like, I'm pretty sure that when you are initiating a block, you need to have both feet on the ground. But don't quote me on that because it's been a long time since I've read the very nuanced version of the rules. So the bottom picture, frontal view, backside, that picture says that pink spot, those are where you can hit people with. And so the top picture where it says front, back, okay, you'll notice that the back part of that image, the image that says back, not a whole lot of it is pink because that whole white section down your back, yeah, that is an illegal target zone to hit. That is unsafe. You are not allowed to skate up to a skater behind them and just shove them in the back. That is illegal. Now, you can skate up to the skater and shove them in the front. You can touch the skater all over the place. You know, if your shoulder ends up touching their belly or their hip, like these are all legal target zones. So any place that's pink on that upper level, that is an acceptable place to hit your opponent. Once again, notice, you're not allowed to hit with your head. You're not allowed to hit to the head. None of these pictures has pink on the head. And that means no touchy the heady. No. That is an illegal way to block. You cannot use your head to block, nor can you use any part of your body to hit your opponent's head. Not good. And once again, you'll notice legs, for the most part, anything from the knee below, you're not allowed to kick your opponent. You're not allowed to trip your opponent. You're not allowed to hit, do a sliding tackle into your opponent. You cannot use your legs to block. And when you are blocking, even if you're blocking with a legal part of your body, you can't aim for the legs of your opponent. That is unsafe and illegal. So basically, we're looking a lot at torso contact. Torso and shoulder contact is what the main contact points are gonna be, right? So that being said, hold on one sec, guys. Gotta take a sip of the pamplemousse. So that being said, if you do touch them in some of those areas, you will be given a penalty. And I'll show you what some of those penalties are. But, Pussycat, are you allowed to use your hands? So, not really, no. The bottom picture here, as you can see, the bottom picture is the blocking zones. The picture that says frontal view, backside. So as you can see, the blocking zones are what you're allowed to initiate contact with, and none of those pictures have pink on them. So from your elbow downward on your arms, you're not allowed to use that to initiate contact. Now, the upper zone, the target zone, you absolutely are allowed to go to touch their hands, etc. Like if for some reason your shoulder ends up, you initiate contact with your shoulder to your opponent's hand, that is absolutely legal. The opponent, however, would not be allowed to use that hand to push you back or to grab you. And so let's see here. Okay, serious question here. How fast do they roll on a wide open sprint? Honestly, I don't have a miles per hour type of situation, but what I can tell you is, in order to be qualified to be on a recognized WFTDA team, you have to be able to make you have to make, words are hard. You have to be able to skate this rink, this lap, You have to be able to skate 27 laps in 5 minutes. And that's actually pretty fast. So they certainly can get to be skating pretty fast. I just don't really know what that translates, but 27 laps in 5 minutes is literally the bare minimum that you have to be able to do in order to qualify for a team. So you already have to be a pretty swift skater to even join a WFTDA recognized team. And when I say a WFTDA recognized team, what I mean is a team that will go on to perhaps, or let's see here, a team that will be ranked by the governing body. And what I mean by that is, let's say we're talking about Seattle. Seattle is Rat City. Now, Rat City has what's known as their home leagues, and then they also have their WFTDA league, or their WFTDA team. Their home teams are what play at the first part of the season, and they've got 4 home teams. Hey, Michael Anthony Smith, good to see you. Just in time for some roller derby action. So to give an example of what I mean by ranked teams versus, say, home teams, Seattle has 4 home teams: the Socket Wenches, the Throttle Rockets, Derby Liberation Front, and Grave Danger. And from those four teams, players, the best players, get chosen to then represent the league in the ranked team that is ranked internationally by the governing body. And so in order to be on that ranked team, you need to be able to skate that track 27 times, make 27 laps on that track in 5 minutes. So that should give you a little bit of an idea of how athletic you need to be. And we will, in the video that I'll be sharing with you guys, we will see some slow action, and some fast action. A lot of roller derby isn't about speed skating. That being said, being able to speed skate is absolutely an important aspect to it. All right, we have got Terry in Scotland and Carl in Arkansas. Oh my God, we have got a raiding party of raiders coming in. So we've got Carl in Arkansas. Hey, how's it? We've got Terry in Scotland. We've got Kayla 200219. We've got Michael Anthony Smith still here. And so Michael Anthony Smith, he knows all about roller derby. In fact, Michael Anthony Smith, you can probably help answer some of these questions that are coming up, because I know that you know some of this stuff that we are talking about today. So we've got, actually, we're very lucky today that we have got, let's see, what am I trying to say? We've got 2 roller derby resources in the house, and I believe, there's another roller derby person that visits our stream whose name escapes me, and I'm not going to tell you who it is. So I'm not going to tell you who it is, but we might even have a 3rd roller derby person coming in here today. So, super stoked that we've got these raiding parties coming in. Hopefully you guys will be equally stoked about roller derby by the time you're done with this raid, with this stream. And yes, I promise you, we're not just going to talk about it in theory. We are going to see about 15-16 minutes of an actual roller derby bout. However, I will be stopping it occasionally so I can explain to you what the heck it was that you just saw. So there you have it. Carl in Arkansas, thank you so much for reminding the raiders to refresh. I have to say, that's one of the worst things when I do actually end up raiding. I oftentimes forget to hit that refresh button. So yeah, definitely super stoked that you guys are here. And all right, so to catch up, you guys who just came in, this is the roller derby track and how it's set up. The jammers line up behind the jammer line. All the other teammates line up between the jammer line and the pivot line. Now, the skaters, they're allowed to use the pink part of their body to hit somebody, the pink part of their body that's outlined on the bottom picture, you can use those parts of your bodies to hit your opponent. But if you're gonna hit your opponent, you need to make sure that you hit them on the pink areas in the upper level. That is the target zones. That is where you're allowed to hit your opponent. And so that hopefully catches you all up just a little bit. And you have a question, what does it mean to talk derby? I am telling you right now, I am talking derby to all of you. What it basically means is telling people all about the sport of roller derby. It's a play on talk dirty to me, but instead it's talk derby to me. We have a lot of double entendres in the roller derby universe. You might notice in the game that I'm about to play for you guys, we're going to be looking at one of the rosters, and you might notice some of the names are like, Carmen Get Some instead of like Come and Get Some. Well, her first name is Carmen, so she's Carmen Get Some. And then you might also notice that other people have names that are pretty much like, A Gray. And it's like, or A Green. Well, her name is Alyssa Green, and she didn't opt to have a derby name. This is an example of some of the changes that the roller derby community are going through, actually. As I said earlier, you might catch me using some words that aren't necessarily in vogue anymore because the language is evolving, the sport is evolving, and one of the things that's evolving in the sport is derby names. So Mad Statter is my roller derby name. That's where I came up with the name Mad Statter. In this day and age, it's just as likely for you to enter to the roller derby universe and not have a derby name. You can just use your name. But back when I started, nobody used their real names. They used their derby stage names, their derby names. As the sport became more and more legitimate, some athletes viewed the derby name as discounting the legitimacy of the sport and the legitimacy of their own athleticism, and they wanted to keep their names. It's like, my name is, Jennifer Smith, and Jennifer Smith is the one paying for my roller skates, buying my gas to get, to go to roller derby. I am the one who's blood, sweating, and tearing roller derby. I want the credit because I am the athlete. I don't need to have, some silly fake name. I am the athlete, and I want people to recognize me as the athlete. And that is absolutely valid. And a lot of the higher end, the ranking team, the teams that are ranked, have a lot of skaters on there who are using their real name now. But if you're gonna, as a general rule of thumb, if you see a skater like Carmen Get Some, who's got a derby name, chances are they are an old school roller derby person. In fact, Carmen Get Some, I think, is possibly one of the first, not one of the founding members of Rat City, but one of the first members of Rat City. So she is about as old school gets. And Gina, how quickly do roller derby skates wear out? I can't answer that, actually, because I know a lot of people who have roller derby skate habits. But as a general rule of thumb, the boots generally last quite some time. It's the components of the boots, your bearings, your wheels, your kingpins, your toe stops. Those get replaced all the time. Toe stops get replaced constantly. Rick, you ever find yourself saying it's not a black back block, it's a surprise hug? No, and frankly, I am kind of surprised that hasn't been said yet, because that's exactly what, that's exactly it. It's not a back block, it's a surprise hug. Let's see here. So, what was I talking about? I'm sitting here looking at Terry in Scotland missing and craving his vape juice. Man, I wish I could send it to you, but alas, if the Royal Mail's on strike, that doesn't do you any flippin' good. Yeah, and so, Gina, how quickly do the roller skates wear out? It's very hard to say. Like I said, the boots themselves generally stay pretty secure for quite some time, which is a good thing, because between the boots and between the plates and between the bearings and between the wheels, because that's what makes up a roller derby boot, you can easily spend $800 for a pair of them. So, hey, Michael Anthony Smith, I'm sorry that you're feeling sad, so log off if you want, but if you are in the mood for watching a roller derby bout, I will be playing one in probably 10 or 15 minutes, so there you go. But if not, have a good sleep, and hopefully tomorrow you'll feel a lot better. And so, let's see here. Okay, so Kayla, let's see, the person hits you, but like they don't hit you with the pink parts, then are those like a foul? Absolutely. Abso-flippin-lutely. In fact, what a great question. What a great question, and what perfect timing, because I was just about to get into those, and I've got pictures and verbal cues and stuffuses. Let's look. Okay, so these are all of, well, not all of them, but these are most of the penalties that you can get for doing bad things and stuff. So as you can see, the first one is a back block, and the picture is of the referee performing the hand signal, because as mentioned in the previous roller derby discussion we had last week, roller derby skaters and refs do have a secret language, so to speak. And part of that language is hand signs. And so you've got a back block up there, and then you've got a high block. Now, a high block means that you, let's see, what does the high block mean? I think the high block means when you, see, I can't remember, it's been so long, is when you actively hit someone in their head. And then the next one down is a low block, and that's when you're tripping people, kicking people. That's any contact below, from the knees below, basically, and that's illegal. And then we've got a head block, and that means you're blocking people with your own head. Don't do that. And then we've got forearms, which means you're hitting people with your arms like you're not supposed to, and this, that, and the other thing. So we've got a lot of different penalties, and all of these penalties, if you do one of them, and let's say your skater jersey is red and your number is 3, what they're gonna do is the referee is gonna say red 3 high block, or whatever it is you did. And while they say red 3 high block, they're going to make the motion of the high block. That way, the people who are keeping track of the penalties can see what that penalty is, because sometimes roller derby is very loud and you cannot hear what the referee is saying. So you can actually, tell, like, oh, that skater got removed from the track. He's making the high block sign. Obviously, it was for a high block. So you make note of that in the paperwork. And so that's how that works. Now, you will notice all of these people are in stripes except for the one person at the bottom right. They're in black. Now, the people in the stripes, those are the referees, obviously. The person in the back, or in the black, that's a non-skating official. That's what I used to be. You're not on skates, but you're still involved in gameplay. And sometimes you're involved in gameplay and something happens and you need to call a penalty on the skater. Now, most of the time, if you're a non-skating official, you aren't allowed to call any of the penalties except for one, and that's misconduct, because misconduct is unsportsmanlike behavior, and if you witness it or if you are a victim of it, even if no other ref sees it, you are allowed to call that. An example would be if you are a penalty box timer and a skater comes into the penalty box so quickly that they literally hit the chairs. These chairs are usually folding chairs. They hit the chairs so hard that the penalty box chairs explode, and then that skater stomps on your foot. Because they were trying to stop, but they didn't. They blew through the chairs, and now they hit you as a non-skating official who's just there to time them, and they accidentally stomp you on the foot. And I'm using this as an example because it's actually happened. I've known non-skating officials who've had foot bones broken in the penalty box. Well, that was an unsafe game. That was unsafe of that skater to do. It was unsportsmanlike conduct. They didn't have to hit the penalty box that hard. If the skater can't control how fast they skate to the box, they shouldn't be on the track to begin with. That is a misconduct. And I can, as a non-skating official, call that skater out on it, and they will get penalized. Not only that, if it's a bad enough misconduct, I can get them kicked out of the game. And when you get kicked out of the game, you might get kicked out of future games because it depends on how bad what you did was. If that makes any sense. So that's how that works basically. Now, I want to make clear, last stream that we talked about roller derby, I made a few errors. I said that it took 10 penalty visits to the penalty box before you got kicked out of the game, called fouling out. Now, if you foul out, you're welcome to play. You're not being expelled. You're just fouling out. Well, as it turns out, it's not 10. It's only 7. So 7 times to the box, and then you're done for the rest of the game. So I wanted to correct that. And another thing that I wanted to correct was, when we're talking about the boundary of the track, I said it was just tape, and I don't know why I said that. I don't know how I could have forgotten that there is a rope underneath that tape. So there is a physical lump that skater is going over. So they do have a physical sensation when they're on the verge of going out of bounds. It's not until they leave the tape that they're out of bounds. But I said very wrongly. It was like that it's just the tape. It's not. There is a piece of rope under that tape as well. And so there is a little bit of sensation, so the skater does know when they're going out of bounds. Because remember, if you go out of bounds, you're not allowed to skate out of bounds. You're only basically going to go out of bounds when someone shoves you out. And once someone shoves you out, you have to enter the track behind that person. Otherwise, it's a cutting penalty. And if you get a cutting penalty, you get to go to the box. So, okay. All right, now, we're on the verge. I know, it's been like, when are we going to see the bout? When are you going to show us the stuff? When are you wanna? We're on the verge of starting the roller derby extravaganza. The roller derby, the actual bout. But before we start the bout, I want to remind you, what you are about to see is a production basically put on by unpaid volunteers. Women's Flat Track Derby Association runs on volunteers, period. None of the officials get paid, none of the referees get paid, none of the nobodies get paid, right? So, they do a really great job at trying to be as professional as possible. In fact, Women's Flat Track Roller Derby Association, their final playoff games in the last few playoffs that they've had, they were actually shown on ESPN3. So this tiny little strange sport that got rebirth out of Texas, Austin, Texas, Flat Track Roller Derby was an offshoot off of the bank track revival that started in Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas, Gotham Girls from New York, Rat City from Seattle, Atlanta Roller Girls are all some of the very, very, very first teams to create the Flat Track Roller Derby sport. And so out of that chalk on pavement endeavor, it grew into a sport that eventually got shown on ESPN3. So what we're about to see is some fairly professional looking stuff, but let's remember, this is all volunteers. And Rick, doesn't the track get really crowded with 72 refs? Yeah, it does. And you will see just how crowded it can get. All right, let's start the game, shall we? Let's do it.
And welcome back to the 2018 International WFTDA Playoffs in Atlanta, Georgia. Brought to you today by the Women's Flat Track Derby Association and the Atlanta Roller Girls in sunny Atlanta, Georgia. And this is game number 5 on day 1. So it's Texas Roller Girls, the Texecutioners out of Austin, Texas, seeded number 1 in this tournament, and currently WFTDA ranked number 6, up against Seattle's Rat City Roller Derby, the Rat City All-Stars, seeded number 8, and WFTDA ranked number 20. And what do we think is going to happen today?
I think we're going to see quite the face-off here for sure. This is a face-off we've seen many times before. These teams are very familiar with each other, and it's going to be an exciting game. By the way, I'm Scarlett O'Hurtya.
And I'm Duck Mistress, and we're being supported by the lovely Shady Wilkins.
Hawkins?
We'll run with it. Sorry,
We'll
Shady.
run with it. It's okay. So I tell you what, you guys ready to see who's playing this game? Because there have been some changes to the Texecutioners roster for sure, as well as Rat. So let's look at some rosters. I will start with the Texecutioners. Today they will be wearing white with red.
Okay, so I'm going to be pausing stuff throughout this. We will be able to watch it at the last bit all the way through, but I want to talk about what we're looking at here. So these are the rosters for both the teams. The Texecutioners are in the red and white. Rat City is going to be in gray and green, I believe. And look at these rosters and how they are, the numerical order in which they are listed, right? So you've got 03, Olivia Shoutout-John. See, she's probably one of the older ones, right? Whereas you got 300, Chris Ragu. She's probably a newer derby skater. She wants to have her own name out there, right? So this number order might seem very strange to you. And it is kind of strange, but there's a method to the madness. The reason why it's instead of numerical order, it's in alphanumeric order is because when a penalty tracker is trying to find the skater on the sheet that they're working from, and they're listening for the verbal cues, which remember, 3 red 3 cutting. We're going to use red 3 cutting as an example. They are going to be like, okay, red. Now they're looking at the red side of the paper. 3. So now they're going to go to the next section, which is all of the 3s, because it might be red 3 0 0. Or it might be red 3 3. As you know, and so you need to. It's basically so the penalty trackers can quickly find and notate the penalties for the skater as the gameplay happens, as they happen. So that's that. And then the other thing that I want to point out is, on the Seattle side, number 94, H. Bots. H. Bots is the mother of one of the coaches for Rat City. I'm not saying she's old, but I am saying she's old enough to have a 25-year-old son. And she is on the championship Seattle roller derby team. You don't have to be a young sprite to be a roller derby skater. It certainly helps, but it's not mandatory. And let's see here, Terry in Scotland. Where is Rat City? I would move there in a New York second. Rat City is Seattle. It's Seattle, Washington. Actually, that's not true. Rat City is White Center, which is just south of Seattle, Washington. But Rat City Roller Girls are considered the Seattle, Washington roller derby team. But if you've ever heard me talking about White Center, which is right down the street from my house, that is the home, the birthplace of the Rat City Roller Girls. White Center's nickname is Rat City for a lot of reasons. One reason is it's full of rats. I mean, it really is. But the real reason is next to White Center, there was military housing that was restricted alcohol territory in World War II. Restricted alcohol territory. Rat City. That's how Rat City actually got its name. But now Rat City really is, that. And let's see here. 1771. Why that high? Rick, I don't know why the skaters choose the numbers they choose, but what I can tell you is prior to Women's Flat Track Derby Association making a rule about the numbers, and because you could only have 4 numbers now, we used to have skaters whose one of their numbers was, her roller derby name was Mary Stoppins, and her number was 1 spoonful. So her uniform said 1 spoonful. When we were calling penalties for red, 1 spoonful. Cutting. Like, her number was 1 spoonful written out. Oh, it was a nightmare. And so the 1771, like, as silly as that is, I've seen worse, my friend. Oh my gosh, I've seen worse. So yeah. So that is, let's see here. So that's that, I think. So yeah, I think that's what I wanted to cover for this part. And so now let's start over again.
Yeah, they have history. There's history.
So I think the period clock is about to start, but before we do, just commenting on that, although Texas have had that year, they've had a lot of games this year, so they've had a lot of chance to rebuild their team. And we're going to start with Freight Train on the jam line up against Alyssa Prey. And it's Alyssa Prey who picks up first lead for Rat City, taking no time to get through on the inside.
Nice juke there by Alyssa Prey, jumping from lane 3 to lane 1, but shoved infield, and Freight Train manages to get through now on a scoring pass.
And Alyssa Prey sees the danger, calls that jam off, but picks up 3 vital points. First points on the board for Rat City.
So first blood gets drawn, and that was a very short jam, less than 30 seconds to get those 3 points. So I think this is going to be a game with a fair bit of speed.
Okay, so what you just saw was so let's see here. Wait, did that one person went to the inner line? Is that a foul? I don't think so, because I don't think anybody got sent to the penalty box that one. That the person who went to the inside most likely recycled back behind the person that popped her out, and so when she gets back on the track, it's perfectly legal. Because if you get shoved into the inside, you're not allowed to skate into the inside. But if you get shoved back into the inside, then you're allowed. So all right, so let's see here. Actually, hold on. Let's do something here. There we go. All right. So we're gonna do a little bit of a replay, I guess. And I actually wanted to stop. I wanted to start something.
They have history. There's history.
Okay. I meant to stop here anyway. So this is how, first off, let's look at what you're looking, right? All right. Let's look at what we're looking at right now. How many people in stripes do you see? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, that's right. I see 6 referees in that shot. There's one more referee that we can't see in this picture, but there's 7 referees total. So there is 7 total. We only can see 6 on here, but there is 7 in a game. There's 3 of them on the outside, and then there's 4 of them on the inside. 2 of the referees on the inside, they're what's known as jammer refs, and their only job is to watch their jammer. Do you see those 2 referees further back, standing right by the ladies in the stars, the jammers there that are standing there behind the jammer line. Those two referees, they're responsible for watching their jammer to keep score and to watch for penalties that their jammer commits or penalties that get committed on their jammer. That's their job. The other two referees in the front of the pack, those are the pack jammers. And they're the ones watching the rest of the skaters to make sure that they're not doing anything bad. And then the three referees on the outside are also there to watch the pack skaters, but they're getting it from the outside view. So that way we've got double eyes from as many different angles as possible. So that is, and then you've got some people in black. Do you see the people in black? Those are the non-skating officials. The one gentleman in black who's standing up by the pivot line, he's what's known as the jam timer. He's the one responsible for keeping track of game time. He's the one who's going to be saying 5 seconds before he blows the whistle in 5 seconds. That gives the skaters a warning that in 5 seconds, the whistle is about to blow and gameplay is about to start. He's the one who blows the whistle to start the gameplay. He is also the person who blows the whistle at the end of a 2-minute jam to let everybody know that the 2-minute jam has happened. Now, these other people in black, they're the penalty trackers. And actually, I'm not really sure what that third person's there for, but that's okay. They're the non-skating officials who are keeping track of things and stuff. So that's what that is. Now, let's go watch that hit and the recycle, and I can explain what happened. But before I do that, hey, Pippin, meow, meow. All right, there we go.
So I think the period clock is about to start, but before we do, just commenting on that, although Texas have had that year, they've had a lot of games this year, so they've had a lot of chance to rebuild their team. And we're going to start with Freight Train on the jam line up against Alyssa Prey. And it's Alyssa Prey who picks up first lead for Rat City, taking no time to get through on the inside.
Nice juke there by Alyssa Prey.
Okay. I'm thinking this is what you guys are talking about. And Kayla, don't worry. We're actually, this is the perfect time to talk that. You've got such great questions at such perfect timing. So first off, C Honda, good to see you. Yes, roller derby cap is on. We are talking everything roller derby. Now, this was the play that got a couple of you guys confused. And I didn't stop it when it happened, but you can probably see. Okay, so Alyssa Prey is the jammer, right? She got pushed into the infield by somebody on the white team. I'm going to assume it was the skater that fell down that's there, but I don't know. I don't know who pushed her out, and my best guess is she doesn't know who pushed her out either, which is why what she's going to do is now that she's in the infield, she's going to roll all the way back and get in behind all of the people in white, because she doesn't necessarily know which one of those white-shirted people pushed her to the inside. And so in order for her to be safe and not get called on a track cutting, then she has to go behind the people who pushed her out. If she re-entered the track, like the picture that we're looking at right now, if she decided to say, screw you, I'm just going to go skating after that girl in the white jammer, the white shirted jammer with the red star. If she just re-entered the track right there and didn't go behind all of those people that pushed her out, she would be sent to the penalty box on a track cutting penalty, because she basically just cut the line. She cut in front of everything. So now we're going to see her skate back.
From lane 3 to lane 1, but shoved infield, and Freight Train manages to get through now on a scoring pass.
And so that is what, that is how she had to legally re-enter. And then now you can see, she's about ready to call that jam off because the other jammer was just about ready to score some points. See, so that whistle, that's calling that off. And Rick, yes, the zebras got names on their back too. Absolutely. If you don't have a derby name, you have to have your real name or you have to have a number. And part of the reason for that is because if a skater or even a spectator has a problem with a referee, they need to be able to identify that person to the governing body, WFTDA. And because all the refs kind of look alike, and it was like, well, I don't know what ref was a total jerk to me who, grabbed me by my ear and pulled me out of the crowd and threw me out the door. But some, guy in stripes grabbed me by the ear and threw me out the door, and I want to put a complaint. Well, they need an identifier. So yeah, the zebras have got names on their backs too, either their name or their number. And by the way, they can choose whatever name or number. They can choose whatever name or number that you want. And yeah, Wookie, actually, his full derby name is Albino Wookie, I believe. But that's too long, and he's generally just called Wookie. And so, yeah, Wookie is it. And so now, to answer your question, Kayla, I did not forget. What are we looking at the bottom here? We've got this little game overlay situation, and I don't really know what's going on. Okay, so starting from the very left, you have the WFTDA logo. And then you've got Texas with a little white stripe showing what color Texas is. And then in that pink box is how many points in the game they've scored so far. That's none. Now, underneath where it says Texas, there's 3 little lines. And the 3 little lines means they have timeouts that they can call. And so it's how many times, and since nobody's called timeouts yet, all the teams have the 3 timeouts. And so so there's that. What is the dot for? That is a good question, even though nobody asked except for me. Honestly, I don't remember what the dot is for. So I'm not going to tell you, okay? All right, I'm not going to tell you what the dot's for. However, the little 0 next to that dot, that is how many points in this jam that has been scored by the team. Once again, Texas has no points, so obviously no points scored in the jam. Rat City, on the other hand, they have 3 points total in the game, hence the big 3 on top, but they also have they also just earned those 3 points in that jam, so it's 3 in that little thing. Now, going on to the final box, it says P1, that means period 1. And then J1 means jam 1. So at the next jam, that little box will say P1, J2. So that way you can keep up with how many jams they've had so far. And then the time in the big pink box is the game time. And then, although why it says 29:34. Oh, right. Yeah, no, never mind. It starts out at 30 minutes. The jam was only 30 seconds long, and we're 4 seconds into the the lineup time, basically. 4 seconds is at the bottom, and it says lineup, and what that means is it's the time between jams. And you've got 30 seconds between each jam. So you've got 30 seconds to get off the track and get back on the track, the players that are involved. So that's what we're looking at on that little game information overlay. Hopefully that explains things. Now, let's watch some derby again. No, not me. Hold on, shoot. I pressed the wrong button.
I think this is going to be a game with a fair bit of speed, which, considering this is Rat's second game of the day, the fact they have that much gas left in the tank, I mean, you need it against the Texecutioners, obviously, but impressive start.
So on the jam line, we have Renegade Roofy for Rat City and number 18 for Texas.
Gravy Baby.
Yeah.
Her name is so much fun to say. And Gravy Baby is your lead jammer. Looks like Littlefield is the jammer of record on the screen and is indeed the jammer on the track. Gravy gets through with one quick pass and quickly calls it off. It looks like Texas is going to put 3 on the board, Rat with 0, and here is a replay of that super fast jam, and we're going to play in reverse just for fun.
So getting back to the track on, it's A green for Rat City up against 444 Grace Lightning for Texas.
Interesting start formation for these two teams. Nice shove to the inside. Great offensive move there by Rat City.
But it's A green picking up that lead jammer, that outside line left clear. Now approaching the pack for a scoring pass. And Grace Lightning still stuck in the pack.
Stoneher with that jammer takeout right at the apex, but gets shoved out as well. Offensive assist there by number 12, Carmen gets some.
And as Grace Lightning still hasn't completed that initial pass, stuck at the back of the pack between a wall of grey Rat City. It is grey that they're playing in with a green highlight, and Texas playing in the white.
Grace Lightning really struggling in the back, and I'm really interested about this. So Texas doing previously did not give an offensive assist. We're forcing Grace Lightning to get through that pack on her own, whereas Rat started with an offensive assist and really aided that jammer on through. However, A Green has not made it through on her first scoring pass. She made that initial pass to grab lead. Now being shoved to the infield by a tripod of Texas defenders.
Still on turn 2 on that scoring pass. Has really only progressed about 80, 90 yards since she hit the pack on that first scoring pass. This has now been probably a good minute.
On this pass specifically, we did have a penalty called on Stoneher, so Texas at a 4-3 pack disadvantage currently. A Green getting through on that first scoring pass. And Rat City jumping on the defense in the straightaway.
Grace Lightning hit out and recycled to the inside just before turn 3, but that jam comes to an end. And it is Rat City picking up, I always hesitate, it is 8 points for Rat City, putting them in the lead. 11 now playing 3 with just over 4 minutes gone.
This is right at the beginning where we saw Texas in that really nice, solid tripod formation, and Rat lining up right at lane 3 for long, I'll say, and those 2 blockers taking out the entire contingent of Texas blockers to the inside. Beautiful start to the jam.
But we are in a power jam. Grace Lightning picking up a penalty right at the end of the previous jam, so that's a power jam for Alyssa Prey, who picks up a lead jammer and completes that initial circuit and is back in the pack, takes a hit, recycled to the inside, a good quarter of the track back, and is back behind that wall of Texas blockers. And it is Grace Lightning now standing and back on the track from the...
Okay, so what we just saw there for a second, for about 30 seconds actually, there was only one jammer on the track, and that was the Seattle jammer, because the other jammer got called off for doing some kind of illegal penalty situation. Not sure what it was, but that Texas jammer got sent to the penalty box and had to stay there for 30 seconds. In that 30 seconds that there was only one jammer on the track, when the Seattle jammer was on the track and the only jammer, that's what's called a power jam. And that is basically when one of the jammers is sitting in the penalty box and the other jammers got control of the field. So now we're seeing that the Texas jammer has been released from the penalty box and is trying to come back into gameplay. So now we've got 2 jammers on the track. And that's what's going on right there. Let's continue our game.
Penalty box. So both jammers on track. And lead still with Alyssa Prey.
Tag team up in the front, led by Legal Knievel and Bo Jackson. Nice penalty kill there.
That's great penalty kill, but Grace Lightning still not able to capitalize and get through. Alyssa Prey has had enough, calls that jam,
Nice start to the game, and we're through jam number 4.
Okay, so Kayla, just a question. So the points, how much do each jammer get when they go across the line? It's not across the line. It's how many points they get. They get 1 point for every opposing blocker on the other team. Now, this is where the evolution. This is an example of the evolution. This particular game that we're watching isn't actually working under that rule set. The skaters actually get a point in this game. The skaters actually get a point for every one of the opposing players that they pass, including the jammer. They have since altered the rules that the jammers don't get a point for passing the other jammer. So we're just going to pretend like this game is going under the current rules, and they're basically roughly the same, which is you have to pass by, you only get 1 point per opposing blocker, and you have to pass by each of them in order to get a point accrued. So there's only 4 points possible in this day and age. In this game, there's 5 points possible for every time you go through the pack. Now, the pack, as you've seen, is right around that line. So I can see why you're confused about where the line comes in. The line doesn't come into it because it's where the pack is. And the pack does slowly, it does move. So basically you get points after you pass through the pack. And I'll see if in this game I can stop at a good way to show. No, Rick, actually the tournament, it's not tournament rules. The game used to be a 5-point situation, but keeping track of whether or not a jammer passed another jammer, once penalties get involved, it gets really confusing, and they realized that not everybody was keeping score the same way. And so they just eliminated that variable and kept it to the blockers. And so, okay, yeah, so Kayla, okay, so the one for Rat City got 5 points because she passed the other players on the other team. Correct, and including the jammer, which is why she got the 5. Now, in this day and age, if this exact same play had happened, she would have only gotten 4 points because they don't score a point for the jammer. But in the game that we are currently watching, they do give that point. But regardless of if that point is given or not, the rule essentially is when you pass the opposing players is when you get a point for each opposing player. And I'll see if I can grab a screenshot of when a ref I'll see if I can grab a screenshot that maybe explains things a little bit better. So let's carry on, shall we?
We've seen a couple visits to the Quad Skate Shop penalty box. They're community-oriented like no other. Quad Shop is passionate about getting you what you want, faster, cheaper, and friendlier. Check them out in-store or online at quadrollerskateshop.com. Here is that jammer takeout to the infield. Beautifully done there, and the nice pullback there by Legal Knievel.
So it's Littlefield on the jam line for Rat City. Up against House the Boss. First time we've seen House the Boss on the jam line for Texas. Both jammers in the pack, stuck behind walls, and it's Texas being held at the back by Rat City. Littlefield pushing out up front, but is hit out and recycled on the outside, all the way back to the jam line.
Nice jammer takeout right at the pivot line. There by the pivot, oddly enough, from Rad City, who's now sitting in the Quad Skate Shop penalty box. Lots of lateral movement there by Haas the Boss, trying to break through that pack, and has ended up on the ground more frequently than you would typically see her.
But Littlefield House the Boss taking every chance to stay on the track.
And she was declared lead jammer, and then that last one, it's a cut.
Yeah.
And the crowd is responding for sure.
But Littlefield now maximizes that confusion and clears the pack on her initial pass.
Rat doing a really good job of that forward recycle. as they make their way around that track. Nice spin move to the inside, but shoved to the infield.
But this will be a 2-minute jam. So Littlefield not able to pick up lead jammer. Have been awarded to House the Boss before the penalty was called. So Littlefield up front against a wall of 3, having to dig deep and push hard.
9 lives heading to that quad skate shot penalty box, pardon me.
House the Boss back on track out of the quad skate shot penalty box. Both jammers in the pack pushing hard now on the straightaway between turns 2 and 3.
Now that's the most braided we've seen that pack get so far. Nice follow through right there by Stoneher.
That was a huge hit from Stoneher. Just not huge in terms of physical impact, but just in terms of the ability to hold the jammer back.
Absolutely.
Okay, so C Honda, yes, that's one strategy. Basically, the blockers are the ones who aren't wearing the stars on their head. The jammer is the one that's got the star. Sounds like you already know that. And yeah, you basically just want to keep the jammer from going forward in any which way possible. So you can either create a wall in front of them to block them, or if they're getting forward momentum and you can push them outside, that means they're going to have to re-enter behind you. So you've actually made them go backwards in a way. So yeah, one of the strategies to slow a jammer down is to push them into the infield or into the outfield. But basically, it's not that you want to you don't just try to push the jammer over the boundary lines. But yeah, that's one way to slow that jammer down. And Terry in Scotland, roller derby spectators devote most of their time to discussions of the rules. Well, now, sir, I resemble that remark. I cannot tell you. I don't know what to say. Yes, that's exactly. Yep, you've got us nailed. You know us. You must be one of us. I think you might be one of us in secret there, Mr. Man. All right, so let's see here. All right. Yeah, so let's see if I can. I've got a good story about something, but let me see if I can find the clip. But let's go. Let's keep watching, shall we?
And so we see Seattle out at a commanding lead here, 22-3. Here is that hit from, beautiful hit there by number 90, CC.
All right. That is who I want to talk about. Number 90, CC, Chocolate Coma. I officiated roller derby on her first season. She came from the East Coast. I believe she played, field hockey or something. She didn't know how to skate when I saw her. She was an athlete in all sorts of different sports. I think she was a swimmer as well, but she had never donned roller skates ever. And she came to Dockyard. Dockyard is the Tacoma League. And the Tacoma League is one of the feeder leagues to the Seattle League. Tacoma's league is called Dockyard Derby Dames. Seattle's league, as you know, is called Rat City. So Chocolate Coma, CC, number 90. Let's see if I can backtrack this a little bit. Oops.
2-3. Here is that
one, the one who just got low to hit that jammer. She has been skating for probably less than 10 years at this particular junction, or actually probably less than 5 years, actually, now that I think about it. She came to Tacoma, joined one of the teams, and within the very first season became a star player and got recruited by Rat. And so she is an amazing athlete who, until she moved to the West Coast, hadn't ever put skates on her feet. It's just incredible the amount of athleticism that she could, that she has within her body. And C Honda, that is correct. Blockers cannot use their arms. They cannot tackle. The only parts of their body that they can use basically is their torso. And let's see here. This is, hold on. Oops, there we go. This is the excuse me, this is where they can hit and where they can be hit. You can use on the bottom picture, the part of your body that's covered in pink. You can use all of that to create a block. And you can only use that part of your body to hit the other parts of the body that are pink on the upper picture. The upper picture is the target zones. It's where you can hit. And then the bottom picture is what you can hit with. And so let's go back to this and get here.
You saw Texas in that really nice solid tripod formation, and Rat lining up right at. That's right where we got that cutting the track penalty for Haas the Boss.
There we go. All right, so we're right roughly where we left off. And so let's see here. So Kayla, so people on the team can switch out jammers. Yes. In fact, you generally want to switch out jammers because your jammer's going to get so tired. Let's see here. You would like to play roller derby but don't know how to use roller skates. Well, I've known people who've learned how to skate and just so they could play roller derby. So there you go. And so let's see here. Darlene, then there are the intentional fouls that can be used strategically in a game. Is there a head coach like in soccer, football, and such? Well, each team has a head coach. And then each team has two coaches, a head coach and a bench coach. The head coach is the one who comes up with the plays, and then the bench coach is the one who's getting the next lineup ready for getting out onto the track. And then there's also a head referee, which is usually one of the 7 that's on the track. So if a coach ever is just wanted to complain about a penalty and have some sort of official review, the head coach is the one that, the captain of the team then goes to the head ref and says, hey, we want to review why you gave us a penalty. We don't think that penalty was right. And so, there absolutely is all sorts of head coaches, head captains, head referees, for sure. All right, I think, yes, this is roller derby, JY Gant, and we are going to watch we've got about 7 minutes left, and I'm 99%, 97, 90% sure that I won't be interrupting the gameplay to tell you anything. I think all of my info has been exhausted, and so I'm fairly certain we're going to just watch the last 7.5 minutes pure. I know I'm lying. I'm sure I'm lying, but my intention is that. And then with all of the questions that we might have, we can talk about those at the end, but we can also stop it and talk about it then. So let's go. Boom.
So we've got Morgan McSlay on the jam line for Rat City up against Thugs Bunny for the first time for Texas.
That offensive assist by Rat City really has been a game changer so far. Texas leaving their jammers to fend for themselves.
But Legal Knievel with that big hit out and recycle on Morgan McSlay. Both jammers being hit out and recycled. Morgan McSlay to the inside now, pushing out front, getting some offense from number 619, Red Devicious. But Red Devicious has to go back to establish the pack, is freed up for the offense. Morgan McSlay still, though, left behind the wall of 3. Both jammers finding it incredibly tough. We're 45 seconds in with no lead jammer. And of course, just as I say that.
Inevitable. Inevitable. Now, Morgan McSlay, your current lead jammer for Rat City, Shady pointed out to me that she did not play in Rat City's earlier game today. Or did not jam, in their earlier game. So fresher legs, maybe?
Maybe.
Doing that rotation. Now, something I think is really interesting here, Rat has chosen on this particular pass to do a full-on box, have all 4 of their blockers holding people back in this bit of a role reversal. There goes that offensive assist. Whereas Texas has maintained that box formation for the most part and been less successful with the box than Rat has been with the tripod. So interesting to see how these things are shifting. Now we've got some braiding going on in the apex.
And that pack is absolutely dynamic. It's been folding up and expanding.
Like an accordion.
Yeah. But Morgan McSlay makes it out to complete that all-important 5-point pass for Rat City.
And we have a star pass to Peace War for Texas. Morgan McSlay shoved down and gets a penalty for a low block. So we have a power jam for Peace War, although it lasted all of 1 second, quite literally. But Texas is going to start the next one off on a power jam. And if there's anybody that is going to take full advantage of a power jam, it is the jammer lining up for Texas currently, Freight Train.
Number 202 Freight Train. I've been really excited to come and see Freight Train in real life.
She's really exciting to watch, just like this replay. So look at that foot placement right on that outside lane. Oh, barely gets shoved out of bounds, but then recycles. So Freight Train off the line, facing off against that Seattle pack that is going rather quick. Oh, beautiful spin move in the apex.
And you can see why Freight Train gets that name. The physicality involved in pushing out with 2 blockers left in front. Now down to 1 lead jammer for Freight Train.
And she is just so powerful of a jammer. And her game has really exponentially gotten better in her time with Texas. So great place to grow for Freight Train, who is already a powerful jammer.
Taking just toe stops on the inside to complete that scoring pass. Now approaching the pack for her second scoring pass. Oh, and Alyssa Prey out of the box, back on track. Apex jump through the middle, completes her initial pass.
So I think that was a star pass right there to Alyssa Prey when Morgan McSlay was in the box.
That's right, yeah.
But they switched it so quick on the screen, we couldn't talk about it. So here's that hit by Freight Train, dodging it, spin move to the outside, takes a shoulder check, takes a hip check, keeps going before getting tangled up with the opposing blocker. And Freight Train is one that basically lives with skates on. She's a jam skater, her whole family skates, and you can see that in how she moves.
So Evergreen Jean on the jam line for Rat City. Also with the star, number 33 for Texas, Gravy Baby. Both jammers on turn 1 being recycled. And it is Gravy Baby. It's not Gravy Baby. It is
Evergreen Jean.
Evergreen Jean, who is the lead jammer for Rat City.
However, Gravy Baby did stash the star in order to get through that pack, has made the initial pass, but Evergreen Jean acutely aware and calls it off. Now, we're at a 16-28 game, and Texas holding Rat City to only 1 point on that last jam. So I don't know if it just takes a little while to wake up, warm up the car, so to speak.
I mean, we are nearly we're nearly halfway through this half.
What?
Yeah. We've got 17 minutes left in this half.
Flies.
And Rat City with a lead at the moment that they're maintaining. So this is not what we expected. So it is number 5 jamming for Rat City, A Green.
And Grace Lightning jamming once again for Texas. And Grace Lightning grabs lead jammer. I think that's only the second time we've seen Texas grab lead. Third time, excuse me. But Grace Lightning is one that struggled a little while earlier.
A Green also out of the pack, completing her initial pass, approaching the pack. Danger scene, jam called, and it is 3 points for Texas, taking them to 19. Just 9 points now behind Rat City. 16:22 left in this half.
So we are heading into jam number 10 of the 9 jams we've had so far. Texas has grabbed lead 3 times and has lost it once due to that jammer penalty that we saw a little while earlier. Haas the Boss pretty much immediately, it's 4 lead jams so far, losing 1. Speaking of Haas the Boss, she's jamming for Texas.
Up against Littlefield for Rat City.
Haas the Boss with a nice dodge on that inside lane 1. And it looks like we have a penalty being called on Haas the Boss for forearm,
So this giving Littlefield the opportunity with another power jam for Rat City.
Beautiful to see how seamlessly Rat City's blockers jump into that offensive assistance position as soon as Haas was sent to that penalty box, and they just focus on spreading out that Texas pack. The pack is now taking up about 60 feet on the track. Holy moly.
Littlefield pushed hard to complete that scoring pass.
That was a good penalty kill, though, by Texas, because Haas is now standing.
That bridging out the front just killed all the time. But it is Littlefield now in the pack on a scoring pass for Rat City.
Now that move she just did there, kind of a C-shaped swoop underneath the other those blockers, was really interesting. But she trapped herself literally inside a triangle of Texas blockers. So although it's nice because it hides your legal blocking zone, so to speak, it's a hard place to get stuck.
And I think that's what happened there, sucked in there. But it is 4 points for Rat City, taking them to 32, now playing 19.
And here's the bridging that we were talking about earlier, right up at the front. That is Peace War, anchoring that defense last line and stretching out that pack.
Alrighty, so hey Love Pack, good to see you. Hey Option, good to see you. Alrighty there, so that that ends the little game snippet that I thought I would share with all y'all. As you can see, the scores can get pretty high pretty quick, but the teams can also catch up pretty quickly as well. And so yeah, it definitely is a full contact sport, Jay Wygant. Roller derby is not for the faint of heart or the weak-willed. It's definitely a rough and tumble kind of sport. And so yeah, that's basically the intro that I have for all y'all for this game. And it looks like it took about an hour and a half, because once people start talking derby, they don't know how to shut up. And that would be me exactly, getting you guys all infected in the sport. Now, I can tell you that if you are interested, I happen to know that Minnesota Roller Derby I don't know what they're called off the top of my head, so I'll need to get back to you on this. But Minnesota Roller Derby live streams all of their bouts on Twitch. So you don't even have to go leave your house. If you want to experience roller derby, an actual live game as it's happening, Minnesota Roller Derby, I'm not sure what their username on Twitch is, but it's something like Minnesota Roller Derby. They live stream, I would say, at least once a month, if not more. And so yeah, that is one way that you can get your roller derby fix for limited effort and limited money. Now, one thing I would like to tell you all, earlier today, I told you that Southern Discomfort is a men's roller derby team not from London. Yeah, they're from London. They're from South London. I looked it up while we were watching the roller derbies. And so, it's a good thing I fact checked myself, because this team is definitely from London. Even though I told you the total opposite earlier this afternoon. There you go. An Option, can we all watch a roller derby live stream together? I don't know. I mean, I guess I could host it, right? Because, I guess I probably could go live hosting a Minnesota roller derby game, I think, right? I don't know if we can, Option, mostly because I don't know how to do that, but I think we can. I think we can. If it costs money, though, then no rebroadcast. No, I don't think it does. I don't know, but I would love to do that. So I'm definitely going to look into that. Because what I was thinking, actually, is what I know that we can do is I can pull a game that's already happened and we can watch that game together. But that's not nearly as fun as watching an actual live stream that's happening right now where we don't know how it's going to finish. And so that would be more fun. I'll see if I can figure something out. And if I do figure something out, then I'll let everybody know with hopefully enough time ahead of time that we can maybe plan it. But I will say that Minnesota Roller Girls, their live streams are almost always on the weekend. So it'd probably be a weekend thing. But yeah, I definitely want to look into that. Now, Rat City used to live stream all of their bouts as well. I don't know if they are anymore, though, because the venue that they used to skate from, which was affectionately known as the Rat's Nest, has been sold to a new owner and torn down. So the venue at which they skate on now is just a regular roller rink. I don't know if they have streaming capabilities from their new old home, because their new home is actually the same exact rink that they got started in, which is the Southgate roller rink, located in beautiful White Center. Just like we talked about earlier, White Center is the actual location of Rat City. Even though Rat City is considered the Seattle team, Rat City is technically White Center. I live south of it. As Rick likes to point out, I live in South White Center. I kind of do, actually. And so, yeah, that's where I'm located for the most part. So I'm super stoked that we have some people who might want to watch a live stream together. That'll be super awesome. And Gina, oh my goodness, I need to be corrected a lot. Not only do I correct myself, if you know that what I said is wrong, I need you to tell me and tell everybody what the real deal is. I love to be corrected. I mean, I don't like being corrected when you're incorrect, because that's annoying. But when I mess up, and boy, do I mess up a lot. But that's the whole reason why we've got this emote. You know the one. Ha ha. The whole reason we've got this emote is because I mess up a lot. So, yes, I want to correct myself if I'm wrong. And if you know that I'm wrong, gall dung it, let me know so we can get the correct word out. Because the worst thing about being a live streamer is saying something stupid and then having everyone believe what your stupid, taking your word for it. Please, don't take my word for it. Always do your homework. If I say something is something, by all means, do your homework to make sure what I said was right. And Kayla, yes, it's MN Roller Derby, Minnesota Roller Derby. That is exactly it. That is the Twitch user that live streams the bouts. So if you want to just follow Minnesota Roller Derby and get the notifications for when they go live, you'll be able to have live streaming roller derby at your Twitch fingertips when they get around to streaming some streams. Just a couple weeks ago, I saw that they were streaming, and this is the beginning of the roller derby season. So I'm pretty sure you're going to start seeing some live streams and some games in the very near future. So so there you go. And cool, you just followed them. Excellent. Option. You know what, Option? I think that the way you mansplain something would be so gentle and so neutral that it would hardly come across as mansplaining. So mansplain away, baby doll. Mansplain away. That's right. Okay. So if anybody's got any last minute roller derby questions, I guess now is the time to ask them, because we're about ready to roll things up. But Terry in Scotland, oh my God, dude. So the avant-garde focal point of Seattle is White Center. For the most part, yeah. White Center is located literally just outside of the city of the Seattle limits, literally like across the street from where the city ends. And it has become the artistic and food and cultural. It's a very nasty neighborhood. It's the highest crime rate per capita neighborhood in the entire county. But it's got a lot going on. The city of Seattle has, for the most part, become very gentrified. And so there's not a lot of artistic anything. It doesn't have a lot of flavor the way it used to. White Center is you really did nail it. I've never heard it explained that way, but yeah, that's exactly what White Center is. And let's see here. Do I have a story on roller derby? Well, my only story that I had to tell was with Chocolate Coma. I wanted to highlight Chocolate Coma, Cece, number 90. She was such an incredible skater, and she came to the sport not even knowing how to skate on roller skates. So my point is, if you think you got it in you and you're willing to try, learn to skate, guys. I've seen it work wonders. I've seen someone with no skating skill go to a championship level team in less than 5 years. So yeah, there you have it. All right. So I think we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for asking all these great questions, listening to me babble, basically listening to me talk derby to you, because that is the one thing, and I believe Terry in Scotland was the one who pointed it out, roller derby aficionados will talk your ear off about roller derby. So careful when approaching us with questions, because you might end up sitting there way longer than you thought. Like an hour and a half. All right, you guys, it's been that hour and a half. We're going to have a Hawaii PBS special this Saturday, Statterbox at the Cinema. Who knows what we're going to talk about on Sunday, where the chatter will scatter. But today, it was the roller derby extravaganza, and I'm so happy to share all that knowledge with you. Hopefully, you guys might get a little infected and feel like catching the sport either live or a live stream. And even more hopefully, maybe we can catch a live stream together. All right, enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll check you later. Have a good one.